Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Thursday. It is the 5th day of January 2023. I hope that you're safe and healthy today and that your family's safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food and shelter and clothing as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field and the first responders who are every day trying to save lives, as well as those that pick up garbage for us to keep streets and sidewalks and parks clean, and those that make deliveries, such as food and water and mail for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women who are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and children that are daily the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also of pornography and child pornography. The victims of prostitution and child prostitution. The victims of human trafficking and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and those perverts that create this heinous industry. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. There are nearly 600,000 men, women, and children without roofs over their head, mostly children, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions, and blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There was a basketball game last night. The New York Knicks hosted the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio at Madison Square Garden last night. The Knicks came out on top 117-114. It was an ugly win. Now, the thing about successful teams in the NBA, they know how to win ugly. And usually those teams that know how to win ugly with veterans. And that was the case last night. The Knicks had an ugly game. Now, Jalen Brunson, see, sometimes, numbers are great. Jalen Brunson ended up with 38 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He played 40 minutes. Great. But he was ball hogging, period. Okay? Now, he started off the game being very aggressive, and that's all good. But the problem was, when you look at the New York Knicks, they only had 16 assists last night. And part of the problem with that, when everybody's not getting involved in the offense, is when you need a big shot from somebody who hasn't touched the ball in a while, you may not get it. Like there was a point in time when Quentin Grimes was wide open, got the basketball, and was shooting. And I thought it was usually with Quentin Grimes, every time he shoots, I'm expecting it to go in because that's what kind of shot he had. But I was expecting it not to go in because he hadn't touched the ball in like 5 minutes. But it did go in. And Grimes ended up the game with 14 points. It was that last 3 that he hit. Great game. 5 of 8 from the field, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. The Knicks shot terribly as a team from the foul line. 66%. It was an ugly game. And Mitchell Robinson, I told you yesterday, Mitchell Robinson could dominate the Spurs except one thing. If the referees take him out the game. They took him out the game. They have him down, you'll see 5 fouls. But if you actually watch the game, he committed really 2 fouls. The other 3 were phantom. He was in an area, or I don't know what the ref was seeing. But they accredited 3 fouls to him that he didn't even commit. That takes him out the game. Okay, that helped keep the Spurs in the game. And it was weird because, again, another weird thing, McBride only played 10 minutes. And he was minus 10, which is rare. He was minus 10. He played 10 minutes and was minus 10. It was one of those weird games. But they won. They won ugly against the Spurs. What we need to understand, a lot of people I saw was commenting, well, not a lot, but a few people were commenting about Julius Randle getting done up by Keldon Johnson. Julius Randle is 6'8", 250 pounds, 260 pounds, solid muscle, right? He is quick and he's extremely nimble and quick. He is. For a guy that size, amazing. But he has trouble with smaller, quicker forwards that he has to guard, such as Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson is smaller and he's quicker than Julius Randle. He's 6'5". They say he weighs 220. He doesn't look like he weighs 220 to me, especially standing next to Julius Randle. And so Julius could not stay in front of him. Could not. Okay. And so he causes problems for Julius Randle. Okay. And then there's that Kentucky thing where he just wants to, do well against anybody from Kentucky he's playing against. It was also the same thing was going on with Jones and IQ. It was nice to watch, but I wasn't as angry at Julius or as frustrated at Julius as in the past when he was get torched by somebody for lack of effort. He put in the effort last night. I mean, that block on the fast break was tremendous, and I don't care if it's just that he's trying to convince those who vote to put him on the All-Star team. I hope he uses that as motivation to keep playing this way because to me, he was tremendous last night. See, all I ask of Julius Randle is 100% effort. He hadn't in the past always given you 100% effort on the defensive end. And as I mentioned even last week against San Antonio, he was conserving his energy for the offensive end. No, but last night, he put forth effort on both ends of the basket, of the court. He had 3 steals, and one of them was really big. I don't know why Clyde and Mike were talking about something, and they just kind of ignored the play, but he came in, and it was very quick, and got the ball loose, and then it came off of San Antonio, and it was a big possession that the Knicks needed in the fourth quarter. So I am not going to complain about Keldon Johnson, going off against Julius Randle because he just has trouble guarding guys that are smaller and quicker. But see, on the converse, they can't guard him either. So anytime the Knicks had a situation where it was him and Johnson, they went right to, as they should, they went right to Julius Randle, and he would usually produce for them. Couple of problems, of course, with some silly turnovers, like he gets the rebound, he's not looking, and Sohan steals it right from him because he's not seeing it. Couple of silly things like that. But for the most part, what I loved is that on both ends of the floor, he came to play. He really did. He ended up with 25 points, 13 boards, 4 blocks. 4 blocks. That was, I like the way Mr. Randle played yesterday. I'm going to give him this pride. He was the MVP to me yesterday, especially when the refs did take Mitchell Robinson out the game. Like I said, I know Brunson scored 38, but you know what? He's got to learn to distribute the ball so that everybody touches it. It doesn't maybe even have to be every time down, but he has to, I feel like he has to let everybody touch that basketball. And what ended up happening too is when other players would get the ball, realizing that they passed it back, they weren't getting it back. They was doing their thing when they got the ball, especially quickly. He's like, oh no, let me do my thing here because if I give it back to you, I ain't seeing it. And you don't want that type of spirit, starting to emanate from your team on the floor. Everybody should touch the basketball. So that was my gripe. But the fact is, like I said, it was an ugly win, but at the end of the day, they won. And that's what we want. So that was their third straight win. After, they won 8, lost 5, now they won 3. And what bothered me yesterday, when I look at games like this, I'm concerned for the next game because you cannot play like that against Toronto and win. See, Toronto, even though Toronto is not right now, in the top echelon of the East in terms of the standings, they're a very good team. And they got some very good players. And as we saw when they came to New York, Siakam drops 50 plus and they win, right? So I'm concerned because that ball should move. I would like to get back to that 25 assist mark. That's a standard for this year for the Knicks that they've been getting, when they're playing really well. So hopefully they look at that film and see that. I think Brunson by habit just goes into these modes, where he's just, instead of just being a point guard, he's a scoring guard and he starts scoring. Cool. Great. But please get your teammates involved because you're going to need them against better teams. That's all I'm saying. I think, and again, I really believe that Jalen Brunson's IQ, basketball acumen, intelligent level is high enough so that he'll figure that out. But, he like any other player, he wants to go off, and he has the ball in his hands, and he starts doing that, coming back from injury and all that. But disappointing from the foul line. I mean, 1 of 3 from the foul line. Jalen Brunson is usually automatic, man. And so hopefully he gets back on track there. Quickly played a great game. Grimes played a great game. You know, the last possession that San Antonio had when the Knicks were up, I think they were up 2. That was tremendous because they caused the 5 second. Sohan was taking the ball out and they caused the 5 second. And it was just, and I was glad because I wanted Tibbs to put all his defensive players out there. And he did. He put Deuce out there, Grimes out there. He didn't put Mitchell Robinson, but he had Sims out there. And he had Randle out there. I forgot who, I think he had Quickly with him too. And they put the lockdown at the critical juncture. See, that's how you win ugly games. They put the lockdown on San Antonio at that critical juncture right there. They had Deuce on Keldon Johnson. No, who they have? They had Deuce on Richardson, because Richardson was going off yesterday. He had 20. They had Deuce on Richardson, and it was lockdown time. And everybody did their job, and it was a 5 second violation. That was the most beautiful play of the game, aside from Randall's block. Randall's block was tremendous, but that was also a beautiful play of the game. And Sohan, even though he didn't score any points yesterday, had 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 rebound. They had him. They put length on Brunson, and he could guard Brunson. Sohan could guard 5 positions. And that's the thing. He really does have that Dennis Rodman gene. There's no doubt about it. He's going to be a good player, man. I thought so coming out of college. When he was coming out of Baylor, I said, this kid is going to be something else. And he's not a scorer, not at this time. But he's going to be, I think, a way better offensively talented player than Dennis Rodman was. But at this point, he's not the rebounder that Dennis Rodman was. But right now you can see him playing the defense that Dennis Rodman played. See, so it's going to be interesting. He can handle the rock, and he's going to be eventually a better offensive player than Dennis Rodman, in my view. But the rebounding, Dennis Rodman was an elite rebounder. I think he led the NBA in rebounding 7 times. An elite rebounder, and maybe Sohan will learn to do it. He has the talent. Maybe he'll learn to do that. But I can see him. He's a tremendous ball handler at 6'8", 6'9". I think he's 6'9", and he can handle the rock very well. He's 6'8". He handles the rock very well. High IQ. Except he does do some rookie mistakes, because you remember he is a rookie and he's only 19. He's only 19. He's playing out there with grown men like he's a vet, but he's only 19. I was very impressed with Sohan. And as I was impressed, like I said, at Baylor with him. So the Knicks come away with this win. They are now tied for 6 again in the East with Indiana. Miami is a full game behind them in the 8th spot, because Miami lost last night. And then Philadelphia has a healthy 3-game cushion, at the 5th spot. So right now, the Knicks are solid with Indiana battling for that 6th place, and Miami. They're all battling right now. Atlanta is falling behind. Chicago's falling behind. And that's why everybody's looking at Zach LaVine, because Chicago, again, they paid all this money to get all these kids together, to get LaVine with Lonzo and Vucevic and then DeMar DeRozan, and they are 17-21. And I ain't gonna forget, some of y'all was whining to go get Lonzo. And I told you, no, he's not available. And he wasn't. And he's not, see? And so you can't buy a champion, except if you buy a superstar, like a LeBron. Again, you could do it with him, but there's nobody in Chicago that's LeBron, see? When you talk about prime LeBron. But you can't. You got to develop the right way, and you got to develop your players, and you got to draft right. And if you look at the Knicks, if you look at the Pacers, that's exactly what they have done. Okay, and Cleveland, and then they added Mitchell as that piece, that final piece to get them. Now Cleveland is, 4th seed right now, 1.5 games from Boston. So it is what it is. The Knicks have won 3 straight. They gave up 114 points yesterday, but they're still plus 2.8 in the differential. As of yesterday, that was good for the seventh best in the league. Yeah, the Knicks are playing good right now. Tom Thibodeau doing a tremendous job. Julius Randle doing a tremendous job. Regarding Obi Toppin, so he was upgraded from out, then to doubtful, then to questionable. He was dressed to play yesterday. Tom Thibodeau said he was situational, which means he ain't gonna play for a minute. I don't think he should either. I think he should. I was not expecting him until Martin Luther King, but he's gonna be back earlier than that. But he needs to get his timing. He needs to play 5-on-5. He needs to maybe get some G League minutes to get back. But I can't wait to get him. He's gonna be back in the rotation. And somebody asked me yesterday, well, who's coming out of the rotation? Excellent question. Who's coming out of the rotation to get Obi back in the rotation? Well, it's probably going to be Sims, even though I wish and hope it's Hartenstein, because Sims yesterday played a tremendous game. Jericho, especially like I said, it was him on the floor in the closing seconds of that game, that helped lock down and get that 5-second count. Jericho Sims yesterday, he played 22 minutes. He had 4 points. He was -4. The stats don't tell everything. He had 7 boards though. He really played a good game, and the ability to dribble the ball up the floor, the ability to move and get outside, go back inside, and of course the tremendous off the chart athleticism that he has. I'd like to see him in the rotation. I'd like to see him with McBride and Obi in that rotation. Toppin, McBride, Obi, and of course IQ, because IQ is not going to stay on the starting 5 when RJ comes back. So you're talking about Sims, McBride, Obi Toppin, and Emmanuel Quickly. I would love to see that crew run for about 10 games. I think that's, like I said, that would be really good. I don't know what Tom's going to do. Yesterday he played Hartenstein 19 minutes, and he played Sims 22 minutes. McBride gets 10. Fournier got 11. Fournier showed why first the Knicks signed him, and then second why they benched him. He can shoot the rock. He ended up with 6 points, but he was 1 of 4 from the 3-point line. And defensively, he was getting torched a little bit also, just in the 11 minutes he was out there. So I expect Fournier to go resume his spot at the end of the bench when RJ comes back. And then when Obi, so that Obi comes back up in there, RJ goes. More than likely, with the salary, the way the salary is working and all that, it looks like Hartenstein will be still in the rotation. But really, I'd like Jericho Sims. I think Jericho Sims is ready to get extended minutes as a rotational piece right now. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. So Friday, they have Toronto. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But Toronto, like I said, I don't even look at their record says that they're 16-22 and they've lost 2 straight. You could throw that out. The Knicks, from what I found out last night, the Knicks have not won in Toronto since 2013. That's 10 years. Okay, so I'm hoping they look at this film. Let's get everybody involved. Let's come with that defense. I'm hoping RJ is ready to come back. That laceration must be pretty bad on his hand for them. They said a week or so, which even seemed like a lot when they first announced it, but it's been true. It's been a week or so since he lacerated his finger. So I don't know when he's coming back. I know he'd like to come back against Toronto. He always likes to play against his Canadian home team. But if they can get him back, it'd be good. If not, you're going to see more Fournier. And that's kind of touch and go depending on his shot. But anyway, we'll see. We'll talk more about that. But right now, again, the Knicks are solidly in the 6th seed with Indiana. They have won 3 straight. And so let's move forward, man. We got this W. Let's move on. And they're going into Toronto, which is actually a positive thing on Friday night. We know the Knicks do not play well at the Garden on Friday night. Knicks. They're going to Toronto. So hopefully they can come out with a W up in Canada. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. Meantime, please be safe out there. Enjoy your Thursday. So